Hello and welcome back to another Wicked Good Hair Day styling tutorial. Today we're going to be covering just the basics of a diffuser set. So for your wavy, beachy wave to curlier hair textures, this is going to be a great go-to just for your day-to-day style. That's going to take basically no time. If you're looking for a really great go-to of getting some good curls that will last, stick around. For this tutorial, you're going to need a microfiber towel, maybe two, one diffuser attachment to your hairdryer, a wide tooth comb, or maybe even just the tail end. We're going to be using our Perfect Curl Activator Spray, your favorite leave-in conditioner, and then the Color Lock system, the defining solution. Now we're going to add some anti-humectant because we live in the South, so you have your choice of some smoothing balm or some Details dry spray wax, and top it all off with some pure polish. So first, we have prepared our head of hair by using the proper shampoo and conditioner techniques that we've already talked about in another video. For this particular step, we're using the microfiber towel to squeeze and blot the extra water out of the hair. Don't want to rub it or wring it because that can add friction, which leads to frizz. It's also why we like the microfiber towel, for reducing the friction that can lead to frizz, as opposed to a regular towel or even a cotton t-shirt, while still being more absorbent than even just a cotton t-shirt. So we're going to be doing a lot of like scrunching motions with it. So once she is towel dried-ish, which shouldn't take too long, we're going to start with some Perfect Curl Activator Spray. Before we even comb through the hair, I like to say 12 to 14 pumps, but it really depends on your density and length. We're going to add about 2 pumps of our favorite leave-in conditioner. Just kind of scrunch that in a little bit. And then we're going to add our Color Lock system. Remember, Color Lock is about a nickel size of sculpture, and then 5 to 7 pumps of illuminant mixed together. There's a chemical reaction that happens when you mix those two together that's actively sealing that cuticle down, which is going to help detangle our hair. It's also adding that UVA and UVB protection, as well as some static and frizz protection, and a little bit of moisture and heat protection. Now, before we even comb through it, we're also going to add our defining solution. We want to add enough of this that we can see the product on the outside and get a good squish sound to it. So I like to separate the hair into about 4 sections and just kind of get that going with your hand. You want to make sure that you're getting it roots to tips though, so you want to make sure that you're getting it on the scalp as well. With all of those things in the hair, now we're going to detangle. We're going to just use a wide tooth comb for this, and we're really just situating the roots where we want them. So if you're looking for volume, you're going to comb everything forward in front of your face, or you're going to lift the roots up and let the hair clump together up and away. But otherwise, you're really just directing the roots where you want them to go, because we're going to be scrunching the ends back together to reclump them. We're going to grab our microfiber towel again, or a fresh one, and you're really just going to be scrunching that hair. That's reactivating those curl clumps and whatever group that they want to hold themselves together with. From here, you may see that some of them might need adjusting. You might see some that want to frizz out a little bit more than others. You're more than welcome to finger coil just those sections. But for this particular style, we're just going to be scrunching and clumping those curls together. Don't forget the back. With all of our products being aloe-based, which drives moisture deeper into the hair shaft, what we're removing is actually the extra water. We can't say that about water-based products. So once everything's been clumped together, you're welcome to finger coil anything if you see that it needs adjusting. And then we're going to take some of our details. Now, if you chose to use smooth-in instead of details, you should have added that before scrunching everything in, though it's not too late. We're just going to do a little bit of details. This is going to help group that curl together so that even after it dries, it wants to maintain that grouping. And this isn't your typical aerosol, so you want to use short bursts instead of a steady stream. But if it's ever like acting up on you, make sure that you soak this in hot water to make sure that there's no clogging, and just roll it on the counter a little bit to make sure it stays mixed up. All right, so now diffuser time. Remember, what we like about diffusers is how much they diffuse the wind so that the heat can dry your hair. So I want you to notice just how many holes are actually all the way throughout the bowl itself. We like that there's holes both in the fingers as well as the bowl, so we're drying everything all at the same time. And we like that it is in fact bowl shaped and not a plate, so it's actually got somewhere to hold those curls. So because the goal is to diffuse the wind, wind equals friction, friction equals frizz, we also want to use the lower speed setting and just let the heat itself dry your hair. So first things first, because we want some volume, we're going to go forward first. Cup the hair into the bowl, let it sit. And the less you move it, the better. So we're going to be doing that to the whole head, but the important thing to remember here is that the less you're moving the diffuser, the better. So you don't want to constantly pump things. You want to kind of leave them in one spot. Remember that if it's too hot for your head or your hand, it is also too hot for your hair. And that is where you can adjust the heat settings or use the cool shot button. Or you can relax that section, give it a break while you dry something else. We're going to be doing that for the whole head. And we're basically going to be using diffuser yoga here, unless I've taught you the hairnet trick, in which case you've got a cheat code. So once the ends are mostly dry, that's where I get y'all to do the headbang all the way forward. You're trying to get as much lift in that root section as possible. And at this point, the ends are dry and have already formed the clump that they're going to. So we're really just aiming for a little bit of controlled frizz at the roots for some volume here. Just remember, if you don't want volume, don't start in the front with the hair all the way forward. You're going to brush everything down and start on the sides and the back and save the top for last. But if you want volume, start in the front forward. So just remember that from here you're going until everything retains heat, much like towels out of the dryer. If it is not warm to the touch when you're done, then it is not retaining heat and there's still some wet in the hair. There's always a spot. So go until it is completely dry in order to reduce as much frizz as possible. So once everything is totally completely dry, we're just going to do a smidge of a finishing something or other. So for us today, that's a little bit of pure polish. If I've directed you towards full effect or oil therapy or beautifying serum or gloss spray, all of those would be a finish step. And all of that's going to do is give us a little bit of shine, a little bit of polish, and continue that anti-humectant for us. You could also use a little bit more details here. But just by scrunching that through, because the hair is totally and completely dry, that's the shape it wants to return to. Even if you want to smooth something out on the ends like that, you don't have to worry about completely undoing your curl set. Also, because it's 100% dry, it will retain this shape until it gets wet again. So unless you get rained on or sweat in your sleep, it wants to return back to this, which means in the morning, you need to tweak it at all. A little bit more of that Perfect Curl Activator spray, just to scrunch, brings it right back. So that is all for today, and we'll see you in the next one.